Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Lia and I'm gratefully sober today. Hi, thank you. Wow, this reading, I'm like, oh my God, my head is spinning right now, to be honest. So I'm gonna have to just like calm down for a second and get into the spirit, and then everything's just gonna flow perfectly the way God wants it. So it is a privilege. Thank you so much, Joe, for asking me to speak. What you see today, this person is not who I was coming into the halls of AA. It was not the person that I actually was doing my writing, and it took some time during my 9th step to become this God-confident person that I am today, and that's just like God's gift. So when I was doing this process, I do qualify. I have gone through the process with a loving, forgiving God, spiritual sponsors, and I've completed my formal amends, and I practice all my steps on a daily basis, including my living steps, my living amends. So when I came in here, I was very broken. My relationships, I came into Big Book Step Study because the relationships that I loved the most, which my family, was so broken. And my sister said to me, "You're miserable, go back to drinking." And I love that. I always say that. I tell her that I say that in here. She's like, "Oh, it sounds terrible." I said, "No, you have no clue what untreated alcoholism looks like because you're not one of us." And that woke me up because I did not want to go back out at all. And I lived in fear of relapsing, so I was hanging on tight to AA. But anyways, that woke me up. I prayed even more and said, "God, you got to help me." And he answers. It talks right in here about God provides. I forget exactly the language, but God provides for those who earnestly, genuinely seek Him. And even if genuinely doesn't work, because sometimes genuinely I go to God and go, I kind of half want what you want. It still works. It's like the miracle of God's grace. So anyways, so I came into Big Book Step Study, and I heard a woman speak, and I was so in awe of her telling the truth and not feeling shame. And I was like, I want to feel that, because I just knew what shame felt like. And so I went on this journey with her. I remember the day we sat down on this step, and I was like, listen, I love God. I've always had a faith in God. My first memory has God. I'm like, we can skip this step. That's just how naive I was. And she's like, you probably need this step more than you realize. And I was like, okay. And so I went on this journey, and I sat with her in her home, and we read this chapter, and I was like, what? Oh my goodness. So here's how I was, including in the halls of AA before Big Book. Or before actually, when I was doing my 4th step. I was like, God, there's so many people suffering. You go handle them. I got this. My problems are not that bad. But I didn't know that was my ego. I did not know that was my arrogance. I just thought I was doing him a favor. That's how crazy our minds can be, right? And then I would talk to him and say, God, tell me what your plan is, and I will help you get there. It's just so funny, but it's okay because it's childlike, right? God, to me, it talks about in here, inside of us is that fundamental idea of God. I am created by Him, so I am Him, right? I can cry because I can feel His presence right now. And so are you. And so in here it talks about who are we going to talk about? The purpose of this book is to gain a relationship with your higher power, your God. It says God. I know people go, it's a higher power, it's this. You need to do what you need to do. It says it's a conception of God, but it does say we're going to talk about God. So to me, when I sit with my girls, we talk about God. And what does God mean? For me, love, period. It can mean so many different things. We can debate, we can talk about it, but it means love. And what is love? Guess what? I really don't know. I know it means I feel at peace. It means I'm aligned with Him. It means I am not judging you. It means I'm not pushing you. It means I'm not, forcing my will. And actually now I'm diverting from what I wrote. But so God is just doing what He needs to do. And how do I get there? That's the wrestle, right? That's the challenge. So it talks about here, and I'll begin what I actually wrote down. I was taking notes. Is there's 2 choices. It says, first of all, what is the problem? What is my problem? Lack of power, right? I'm powerless over alcohol. I'm powerless over everything, including people, places, and things, including my relationships that I want so badly. So I think like if I'm nice enough, if I do this, if I do that, if I manipulate, if I manage, like let's all get along. Like, shh, be quiet. Like Lia doesn't know how to be quiet without a God. So what's my problem? Lack of power. Like it starts there. What's my other problem? Alcohol destruction. What does that look like? I'm always hurting people and I don't even know it. Like that's the sad part. When it talks about on page, I love that page, I think 60 or 61 about, I'm either noble or selfish, I'm this or that, so I'll do it this way, and if that didn't work, then I do it this way. And today I pray and I go, God, I want to be productive instead of destructive. And these are the things that what you hear here, I heard from you guys. I take what I learn from you guys. I take what you suggest, and I apply it and implement it into my spiritual practice. So those are my problems: alcoholic destruction and lack of power. So what are my choices? And it's pretty funny. I've been doing this for a while, so I have tons of notes, thank goodness. And it talks about right on page 44, right? The first page. What's our solutions? An alcoholic death or a spiritual basis? Two choices. But it says on page 25, it talks about that. What are my two choices? Go to the bitter end or accept spiritual help? Sounds pretty simple, right? But why isn't it? And then what I've learned is that it's my ego, which I always say my ego is not my amigo. Yeah. It's, my arrogance, thinking like I can help God. I can't help God. God is doing it all by himself, and he does not need my aid, And so I choose, so when I came in here, and mind you, I've always loved God. I always wanted to please him. My first fear when I was doing my writing was fear of God's judgment. So that was always my I want to be aligned with you, God. How can I do that? And you know what? It's spending time, like it talks about in here. We're all worshipers. What do we worship? I know for me, I worshipped alcohol more than I ever thought. My first thought in the morning was alcohol. I was never daily drinking, but I thought about drinking all day long. I would be at a vacation thinking about my next vacation so I could drink every day so I didn't look, different than people. Like I was afraid that I was going to look like an alcoholic, and I didn't know that was my fear. So it was always how I could plan an event that I could drink responsibly, which sometimes it worked, I gotta be honest. Most often it didn't. Or I lied that I did because I would be in the function and I would put my glass, and I talk about this, near the clock wall, and I would time myself how often I'd go get the wine. But then I'd go home and drink a whole bottle by myself. I'm like, well, I did that well. Nobody saw me drunk, and I thought that was successful. Not knowing when I was waking up and I have kiddos that want a nice healthy breakfast, I was giving him, let go of my ego and thinking I was the best mom I could be. And it wasn't. It was just here you go, it's time for Barney, right? And those are things that I learned when I really got honest, because I could not, when I was doing even this stuff right here, so if you're in here and you're like, oh my God, that's hard, I can't see, it hurts, because I can still feel that wound that I wasn't the mom that I wished I had been. Be gentle with yourself, hold on to that sponsor, hold on to those spiritual people that you hear in here, and just say, just ask, I don't know, whatever you need to ask, but they will love you until you learn, you're okay. That wasn't you. When you were, and I don't mean you, when I was acting that way, that was not me aligned with God. That was my alcoholism having grips on me, and I didn't know how to release it. So, please time me, because I can, now that I'm so passionate about this program because it has changed me so much. So how do we continue doing this? Openness. So I had to finally really get on my knees and surrender to God and go, I am finally open to what you would have me be. And he wants me sober. He wants me sober-minded, and he wants me to be sober living. And what does that mean? That means I got to think of you. That means I got to stop thinking of myself. Because for me, alcoholism is really selfishness. I mean, like, if you want to put one word, that's my word for alcoholism. I think of only me, and I only want my needs met. And so when I get rid of the untreated alcoholism, and now I'm aligned with God, and this is the chapter that actually helps you to see that, you know what, like there's 3 big questions in here. My sponsor, when I was writing, she would always go, remember that, well, she would always remind me of one question, but I go to the 3 questions. And one of them is on page 53, and this is the one she would always say to me. God is everything, or else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. So in every situation that I'm in, if I ask that question, it pauses me. Like all of a sudden I'm not like in the fight. I'm like, I relax and go, okay, what do I do? And this is how I know that this program is working in my life. This summer I've had a very busy summer in my family. A lot of, I don't want to call them tragedies, but stuff happening. My mom got hurt. She's in rehab. My son was struggling. I had to go down the Cape. My ex-husband got hit by a truck. He got med-flighted. His first phone call, I went to see him. We're in the emergency room, and we're doing a 10-step together. That's how God's working in my life, you know? And then when I was down the Cape living in his house, and mind you, he is my ex-husband, we got along perfectly. We have respect for each other. And I'm there for 10 days, and he and my son both said to me, wow, you are different. Last time this happened, you didn't look like this, you know? And that was only like maybe 5 years ago, so not that long. I was already in this. So what I'm saying is we evolve. If we continue to practice, we evolve. And it's pretty remarkable, like how I am, like it talks about in here, like what's the ultimate goal for me, what I heard in here when we were reading this, is to be in constant presence of God. And then nothing is not okay. Everything is okay. There's peace, there's unity. And I'm going off on family because there's so much family stuff. And you know, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, we have sibling night. Me and my siblings, we get together. There's 5 of us. There's 2 sober, there's 1 in Al-Anon, 1 probably could use this, I don't know, you know, and I keep like evolving, you know, with God and you people. And I was recently at this retreat up I went because of location. Like, this is how funny it is. I went because it was up in the Adirondack Mountains. I'm like, oh my God, that's going to be perfect. It was a 12-step retreat. I said, I'm going to go for the mountains. Okay, I go there, and what did I get? I got 12 steps. And I learned more. It was pretty remarkable. And we had a drop the rock experience, right? And you know, this is like all God. Like I'm talking about, you know, came to believe. Like I've come to believe, so I allow that openness, that willingness to believe that God is doing my life. He's like managing, he's guiding me, like it talks about, that uses that language. He's my guide. So I'm up there and we do a drop the rock, and for me, I prayed and I said, God, which character defect do I want to get rid of? I'm like, judgment. I can be judgy still to this day. And I call it like, oh, I'm assessing the situation. You know, I'm just trying to figure it out. No, I'm judgy, and I don't want to be judgy. And I probably will always be judgy, and that's okay because I'm human. But you know what? I want to be less judgy. If I can continue to be less, that is like my goal. So that's what I did. I dropped off the judgment piece. Okay, that worked. So I'm in sibling night. And, you know, my mom is sick. She's in rehab. We have to make big decisions. There's 5 of us. Everyone has a different opinion. Everyone has a different way of doing life, how we should spend her money, blah, blah, blah. There was a fight. People walked out. I sat. I didn't move. I asked God, direct me. It's you, not me. I cannot believe that I'm able to do that. And yesterday, one of my brothers called me, and he said, how were you able to, like, not engage? I go, I didn't do anything. That's how easy it is. Like, I just asked God, direct me. I hugged the ones that stayed in the room. I walked out and said, I love you. And I hugged the ones that were in the car and said, I love you. Period. we will work it out. God will work it out. If we love each other enough and we're open to hearing at some point when we settle down, because we do. I mean, we're emotional people. We've got to settle down that emotion and then look, what do we really want? Would Mom be happy knowing we had this fight? No. So what are we going to do? And so we're having a meeting next week. That's we probably go months without talking to each other. So that's how God is working in my life. So back to step 2 if you're in here. Sorry about that. But those are the examples that I'm just in awe. So, so we're talking about the worship. I wanted to go on that. The worship. So I'm in awe of that, of how God is working. So what did I worship? I worshipped alcohol. I worshipped me, and I didn't know it. Me meaning I wanted to be comfortable. I wanted you guys, and I always definitely my poor ex-husband, I always relied on him to make me comfortable, make my life, my environment safe so that I was okay. That was a tall order. That was not his responsibility. So what was I worshiping? Me. I was worshiping alcohol because I thought alcohol was my solution, right? And then some relationships said, it's not their responsibility to take care of me. There's other things that people worship, right? Sometimes I worship dresses because I love my pretty dresses. I do that. And then I okay, what am I doing? Last week, I'm wait a minute. I went away this summer. I bought way too many dresses. And what did I do? I said, time to give away. If it's coming in, I need to give out. So it's that the circulation of God's love, God's things, because they're not mine anyways. So, what else did I wanted to share? And so what obscures me from God's alignment? I talked about my ego. My ego is not my amigo. My arrogance, thinking that I know better than God, I don't. And untreated alcoholism. And it can look like anything. It can be when I'm in fear, I'm untreated because I'm not supposed to be in fear. That's not how God wants me. When I'm in fear, I can't be helpful to you because I'm thinking of me. I want to get comfortable again. I want to be safe again. And that can happen like that. I'm giving you examples of how God has worked in my life. There are other times that I'm I'll give you an example. We took my mom this summer to go see her sisters. And I was adamant I was not going to go. My sister's I need you to come and help with Mom. I'm I don't want to go. My kids are not going. I want to be a mom. I don't want to be a daughter. And she's well, you're coming. God is going to find a way for you to come. I go, get me a ticket and we'll see. There were no seats available, right? I mean, this is how I can still be arrogant too, because I was thinking I want to be a mom. If my kids came, I'd go. And so, I don't know, I think it was a month before, God touched my heart and he said, you're being bratty. I go, okay. If there's a ticket, God, I will go. If there's a seat available. There was one seat available that day. So I said, okay, there you go. So I had to spend a little bit more money. And guess what? I'm so happy that I did because it's I need to learn. Those are the things. It's not punishment. Because I don't look at it like punishment. It's the awareness of when God tells me something, I should be obedient at the time because there will be less cost to less expense. And I don't mean money. I mean to lean into the experience. So I'm not rigid. So anyways, yeah. So there's, so I still mess up. I just want to finish with the 3 big questions. So that there's that God is everything or else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. Page 47. Do I now believe or am I even willing to believe that there's a power greater than myself? Just the willingness to believe. I've had girls that are Lia, I don't believe in your God, and I don't need you to. That's okay. You don't need to. It's okay. We're going to just go hand in hand. We're going to follow these instructions. And we're going to, so this is what worship means. How am I spending my time, my thoughts, and my energy to? That is who I'm worshiping. So am I worshiping God, his way, my power greater than myself? Or am I worshiping materialistic things, or me, my way, what I want? What am I worshiping? How am I spending my energy? And then on page 57, how am I doing with time, Joe? I'm good? Okay. And the last, here it is. And so I guess I will leave you with this. the last question at the end. Who are you to say there is no God? I'm not the beginning and I'm not the ending. God created me and I need to return to Him. And I return to Him every time I surrender to everything that He lets me be, including coming in here today and just sharing about our God, our Father, our Creator, and I do believe He's ours. So thank you for listening.